Good morning and welcome to the Wealth Ruse podcast. I'm your host, Vickie Helm. Today, we are going to have an exciting conversation because it's one I think that happens to everyone. And what happens is we start looking for something that is in plain sight. And that is that your value is hiding in plain sight right in front of you, and you don't see it. And thus, you can't profit from it. And there's a lot of new value that I want to talk about today that has a lot to do with people not knowing or knowing what is becoming valuable. So, everyone knows that their data is valuable to data centers, but they don't actually know why. So, I want to tell you today, do you know that the average person has $155,000 worth of digital assets, and they don't even know it. They don't know how to value it. They don't know how to evaluate it. So I'm going to give you a way to look at those kinds of evaluations. I had a really dear friend of mine who is his mother is from Japan, and his father was American. They got married and moved to the United States. So obviously, the children are half Japanese and half American. However, on the Japanese side, on his mother's side, they were part of the dynasty. They were, pictures of the king and the queen and blah blah blah. So in his dynasty thing, you can see pictures of all his family members, and he had them just beautifully done. And one night we were at a dinner party, and he was talking about this with us. And what he did was he took out his pictures to show us. And he was like, "This is my mom and or grandmother and my dad. And here's the lineage line all the way through." And I was fascinated by it. And I was fascinated because I just like history. And we were just talking about it. So we're at the dinner party. And the next day, when he was on Facebook, he wrote about how he had a dinner party, and this was pictures of his family were put on Facebook. And this beautiful story about it. And this was a long time ago, maybe, 2014 or even further, 2012, something like that. And what ended up happening is that the second he put on that particular show, when he put that on Facebook, here's the show with the pictures and the story, suddenly Facebook owned it, and Facebook could now sell it. And that selling of it, like, he could have sold it to ancestry.com. They could have sold it to ancestry.com with the story already written, with the pictures already there, and they would have made a fortune because those are dynasty pictures, and now the lineage line could be tracked that way. And how much did my friend get for the Facebook selling it to ancestry.com? Nothing. Nothing. And so when we put our data out and we put out our things so easily, and we can't see what value is today, and value has turned into data, which is history. Your family's history, your family's anything about your family is a form of wealth to any social media thing. So any social media site that picks on your um, that goes to your site and picks some picture, some event, some anything that they're registering, could be graduation from high school right now, but 50 to 100 years from now, it'll become part of the process of the data that says this person belonged to this, who did this and did that and did the other. And these data centers, that these data centers that hold all this data, sometimes we're feeding the data centers that we're building. And the thing is, once you understand the value of you, the value that is hiding in plain sight, that means that you can steward it a little bit better. You can steward it and realize that this is value to someone else. They keep calling it data. Data, 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 but it's the value asset, and it is the absolute core of building kind of a library. Everybody looks at all the data that's being gathered and all this genius and all this things that our LLMs are learning right now, and they're learning it from us. If nobody used AI right now, AI would be nothing. If nobody used AI, we wouldn't it just sit there. So unless we're participating with it, it's not learning or doing anything. And the question or the idea or the creative comes from a thought maybe you're having or a topic you want to cover. So, what happens for most people is they just don't understand how it is that we we don't find value the way we used to. We find value in the past by craft. If you were a good carpenter, you had value. If you were a good, fixer farmer, you had value. But now value is switching, it's changing. And one of the things that is so valuable right now, especially for women, is soft skills. So, what do I mean by that? Well, soft skills, they call them soft skills. I don't know why they call them soft skills, but the soft skill is actually a real skill set. It's the ability to discern, it's the ability to calm a room. It has there's a lot of things that can happen when you have good soft skills. So let me explain this differently. Let's just say right now that you have AI and you're working with AI. AI has no soft skills. And that means the value of your humanness just got more expensive. It's more relatable, that value. So what I mean by that is the the AI can do the email. They can make you a checklist. It can make you a spreadsheet. It can give you a path forward. It can do everything except manage the emotion of the client. It can do everything on that part except the human needs part. And the soft skills are in the human needs part. Even if it makes this great presentation, you have to deliver the presentation or make it so that somebody wants to sign that contract. And they're going to have questions or they're going to have these things that they need help with that perhaps the AI can't do, which is that human part of it. So when we take a look at value, some of the values that we had before were like, contract building or doing or accounting or putting in spreadsheets or doing all of the things that we do to run businesses. And what happens then when the business is running is that you did everything. And now there's agents and things like that that can run and do all of this. And they're talking about all the layoffs that are coming. And all the layoffs that are coming are for the value we used to identify with, which was usually a skill set, a degree, a form of discipline, a certain particular behavior. And as long as AI is here, and yes, it's coming for some jobs, but there is going to be a lot of jobs that are just going to be enhanced. Like, I don't know. I know that AI enhances EMF services, but it's people who still have to go to a EMS situation, whether it's a fire, a car accident, a heart attack at home. There still has to be a human involved in that. Just a second. Mm. So, having that skill set that you have, let's start to value and look at the value that you have that you may not price, that you may not know, that you may not have discovered yet, and how you can, use it, how you can monetize it, how you can get to the point where you have the kind of income based on your gifts. So, I want to talk about the difference in gift levels. Most people can't see their gifts because they have this inner critic over here. You can't, you don't, you ain't enough, you haven't done this, you don't have a degree, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. And that inner critic is constantly just banging on them all the time. It's constantly evaluating and judging. You could have done that better. Well, it's your fault, and you're not good enough, and they don't like you, and blah, blah, blah. It is constantly beating you up. But inside every inner critic is an inner winner. And inside that inner winner, is a zone right there of genius. And that zone of genius is called your inner genius. So here's the thing, there's the inner critic, there's the inner winner, and then there's the inner genius. And those three things have a lot to do with how you're going to get paid in the future. And so the value of that is if you can't shut up the inner critic, you can't see the inner winner and you can't see your zone of genius. And so a lot of people see their zone of genius as art. And so perhaps that's true. Maybe you're good at art. But what happens when you hit your zone of genius is it's kind of a place that you enter where it's kind of zen. And when you're in that zone of genius and you're doing your thing in the creative wave, whether it's art or it's not art, whether you're problem solving or whether you're just being aware and looking at something and saying, I could solve it by doing this, that zone of genius has a vast array of untapped potential that is not being used because that inner critic is just barking at you all the time. So, what happens when you hit the zone of genius? Your mind has a tendency to say, well, you're only good at one thing. You're good at maybe you're athletic, or maybe you're a good leader, or maybe you're a good problem solver, or whatever it is that you do. The inner critic only allows you to have so much voice before it starts putting you down and beating you up and telling you that you have to be perfect or don't apply for that position because you're not 100% accurate at that position. Maybe you think you're only good at 60%. But here's what I know, for especially for women. The thing about women is that they will always never say that they're 100% perfect at what they do. Now, here's how they disguise it. Women will say, I'm good at my job. I'm good at what I do. I'm good at that. But they don't ever say, I'm the best. Where men are more likely to say, I'm the best at that. I can serve your client because I'm the best at this. And what happens is we evaluate ourselves on this way tougher scale, the scale that was so tough, the scale that is so hard that we literally cheat ourselves out of our own value that is hiding right in front of us, that can get us a second way to get paid and get paid well. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think that the skill set that you're most looking for when you're looking at your job is AI is going to come and try to make your job easier. But making your job easier doesn't make you better. What makes you better is you being able to identify what it is that you bring to the table that is something you can work with AI. And when you work with AI and you do that, whether you lose a job or you start a business, or you lose a job and start a business, whatever you do, you can account for the things that you bring to the table. Now, I know I'm going to give you an example that everybody knows. There was a book that came out a few years back and it was on organizing, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like this book was written and it told you to go through your closet and everything you haven't worn in the last year, you take it out of the closet and you donate it or you get rid of it. But it was like getting rid of the clutter, and getting rid of the clutter in your life meant that you could open up your life to different things. So here is a book, and it was on the bestseller list. Right now, the name is escaping me, and somebody I know who's listening will type it in. But so what happened is there is a point where um, the book was so sensational. It blew up everywhere. There were memes everywhere about cleaning up the clutter in your life so that you could bring new energy, new opportunities, new this, new that into your life. And the meme and the sensation that it took was huge, and it made her a lot of money. On she was on shows, she was everywhere because she talked about cleaning up the clutter in a way nobody else could. Now, I know there's a bunch of moms out there who have said to their kids, "Clean up your room. Clean your room up. Let's get your room clean." And remember the thing that came up in books, it was a few years back about making your bed? Every morning when you get up, make up your bed because it let you have a certain type of discipline. I wanna say it might have been Atomic Habits, I don't know, but the discipline of getting up every morning and making sure the bed was made was something that was so simple, and they were, blew up on the bestseller list because people knew the value of that, and so it doesn't have to be something that is technical or so advanced or anything else. It's the simplicity of the skill set that is what is going to bring the humanness back in it. So I use just two really simple examples of, hi, let's clean up the clutter in your house and make your bed every day because it's a type of discipline that helps you start to become disciplined. And what happened is they wrote about these. They started off with a book and then they started writing about it, or maybe they started writing about it. They started talking about it. They had YouTube channels and everything else. And they just kept saying the same thing over again, over and over and over again. Here's the what happens when you declutter. Today I want to show you how to go through the blouses and say which blouse should go and which blouse should stay. And people watch. They were learning and wanted to learn the simplicity of that. So the value that you think is hiding in plain sight looks like maybe it's nothing. I know how to clean a closet so well and declutter so well. And what I have found out when I declutter is, and your voice in that small conversation is a seven-figure structure that you build. So it's the what's my message? And the point I'm trying to say is, what is your message is vastly different than what's the niche that you want to be in. I haven't found my purpose. I haven't found my niche. I haven't found my whatever. And fine, let's take all that and put it away because maybe it's not yours to find. But what's your message? This woman's message was simple. If you declutter your life, you allow some new energy to come in, you'll be able to let go of your past. You'll be able to move forward in that way. And that's what people really want. They want to feel a transformation in their life. And if you can provide somebody with a transformation, that is, and we've talked about this here. We're moving from, we've given the example of the data, how it's being used right now. Data is being collected, how LLMs are learning it, how they're using everything that you put in there. And now, if they're going to follow you and they're going to have an LLM, let's let them help promote you as well on the thing that you do well. The thing is, what I teach my students, and they all are working and making money right now, is what is your message to the world? What's your message? And a lot of them can say, well, I really like to help women through menopause. And what I want to do is not just give them a supplement or give them something else. I want to give them a roadmap to help them manage perimenopause to menopause in a way that helps them thrive versus dive. And so we're looking at other ways. I have another student. She does communications for people who are English as a second language, and the interesting thing about it is we do English as a second language, but I'm constantly watching her because the beauty of just being able to speak more clearly creates kindness in the world. A lot of misunderstandings are why people fight. But if you can communicate better and you have a place that you can communicate well, everything de-escalates and becomes kind and it's understanding. That's a huge change to be making in the world right now. So what is it that is your message to the world? And it can't be something simple. It can be so simple. It's God is love. That's my message to the world. God is love. And can you talk about it and write about it and talk about it and write about it at nauseum because you love to talk about it so much? Well, it's like we're moving wealth from a different place. All knowledge is being held on learning models that are, Chat and Claude and Gemini and all the perplexities of the world and everything else. Great, let it be there. So now over here in the human realm, what are the things that can help the human rise? Can a human rise learning to deal with their body in a better way so they have more energy and more happiness and more quality of life? Yes. So can it be that a human can learn to communicate better so that when they're around the people that want to uh, help them or close the deal, that they're not being pressured, they're being authentic, they're being themselves, they're getting their message across? Yes, that's true. That can happen. That can happen in anything. Life right now is moving towards having a different perspective. And remember several years ago when they talked about adaptability? Adaptability was how you can be adaptable in the world, because the adaptable person is the one that thrives. The adaptable person is the one that takes advantage of something. So here's the thing: your inner critic is barking at you all the time, telling you that you can't, you won't, you're not good enough, whatever it's saying to you. And underneath that, if there's an inner critic, there's also an inner winner. There's an inner genius that you have that nobody else has. That inner genius has simplicity and purpose and joy. And when you're doing that inner genius thing, whether it's simple or not, that inner genius thing is so valuable that you can monetize it. They have right now, you can monetize anything. They have people that are in their zone of genius, fixing something, doing gardening, whatever your zone of genius is. You have to trust that. You have to trust you in order for that zone of genius to come up. Now, one of the plagues that women have that we think about, oh, here's my zone of genius. Here's my message to the world. I can't say that. And they're waiting for the perfect opportunity, and they start waiting so that they work on being perfect instead of just stumbling their way through it. Like, I'm having a conversation with you right now, and I'm like sipping coffee in the middle of it. I'm stumbling my way through it. I have some of the words wrong, and you're just out here being human. And the reason I do it live is because that is going to be the definition of humanness in the future. Right now, doing a live means that you know that I'm here. I'm not an AI fake. It's not me, coming on. And the AI fakes are going to get better and better and better and better. And what happens when you go live? Humanness comes out. And that humanness, just staying in that, is a zone of genius. Being able to communicate and just be yourself authentically out here with your zone of genius and your abilities will help you build an audience. People will be able to go, she's for real. I've seen her talk. She's not AI. And what's going to happen is your zone of genius is literally a structure that you put together. It's something you grow, it's something you have, it's something you utilize every day, all the time. Your best friend calls you and they're upset, and you'll see your zone of genius pop right out. Now, how do I mean that? Let's just let me give you an example. Let's say your best friend calls you today and they're very upset. And maybe they called you because they needed to chew your ear for a little bit about what they're upset about. And really, they want a certain type of connection with you or connection with somebody. So maybe they need somebody who's grounded and very matter of fact. Here's the issue, here's the solution, here's the this. Or maybe they need somebody compassionate. Compassionate that's like, "Oh, I get it. Oh, I'd be upset too." They want somebody who's just listening to them. They want a type of listening. Or maybe they want somebody who's just, "Girlfriend, you've been here before and you keep making the same mistake over and over again. And here's the truth teller." And these 3 people right here, these 3 ways of speaking to that one person that is your best friend. The reason they call you because they want the truth teller. The reason they called you because they want the soft ear. The reason they call you because they want somebody grounded who can go, "Okay, maybe this, or problem solved with you." One of these 3 things, that is your zone of genius. And underneath that zone of genius is this vast array of untapped genius that wants to come out, that has no venue to come out because the inner critic is on top beating you up. And that beating you up is stopping you from taking advantage of your little monetization structure. It's not really the structure that you need to know about. Everybody's like, let me learn the structure. Let me learn the structure. You have to learn you first. What's your message to the world? What's your message to the world? When you write a book, and I have 48 books under my belt, when you read a book, there's a message in the book. It's not just how do you do this and how do you do that. The message is the transformation. The structure is simple. First, you do this, and then you do it at nauseum. Do it over and over and over and over and over and over again. That structure is easy. Getting the inner critic out of the way so that your message comes up, so that your zone of genius can happen. And a lot of people are like, I want to talk about the artist because the artists, they stay in their zone of genius when they're making art, whether it's painting or pottery or whatever the art is. Maybe you're good at talking to animals, or maybe you're good at, um, maybe you're good at some sort of habit that other people aren't. And what do I mean by that? I know there are equestrian centers that specialize on helping people with traumas relate to horses. And somehow, I'm not sure how, but somehow that meeting between horse and human helps heal both horse and human. And they build trust and they start trusting each other. And when you start maybe having an absence of trust, building trust again, building trust is hard, but building trust with discernment isn't hard. So we learn how to build trust with the horse, and the horse helps us build discernment about actions or interactions. Maybe that's what you know how to do. Or, whatever it is that is your message to the world. It can be as simple as straightening your closet and being kind to animals or having a refuge for animals and knowing what kind of animals are there and why you have them and why they need it. What is your message? And the message has to be structured in a way that helps your monetization grow so that the business is there. Now, the business means if you want to save your intellectual property, I'm going to tell you how I do it right now. Before I put any program out, before I put a video up, before I talk about anything, I write the book. And why do I write the book? Because it is intellectual property. And at that point, when the book is up, then I have, if somebody tries to steal it and I have to go to court, the burden of proof is always going to be on you. And if you can show first edition, which I do, here's my first edition of intellectual property, then what happens is I can I can win at court. It's protected. So I go LLC, but the first asset that I write is the book. From the book, then comes the program or the process or whatever I'm doing. And then I go build that website, etc., where everybody can go. And we're on Substack right now. So Substack gives you a free website, which I think is the coolest, smartest thing ever. And you build a body of work where your message is inside that body of work. And when you have that, then you have your second layer. You have an LLC with a book. You have your first asset. You're on Amazon and your links are inside the book and you have a whole structure and system that puts it there. But the problem most people have is they don't have distribution systems. They have social media systems, but they don't have distribution systems. So the thing about the books that are Atomic Habits or that decluttering book that I can't remember the name of, I have a brain fart right now. That book right there, that's the thing they did. They wrote the book, they did the structure. The structure is easy. What your message isn't. You have to get past your inner critic, your ego, and just sit down and say, what is my message? And you can go to the first sentence inside your head and write it. Or if you have used chat or some AI a lot, it probably knows your message and you don't, and it can polish it for you. But the real way that you get your message isn't something where you're like, I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about it. And that's a topic. Your message is different. So, what I always tell everybody, if you want to find your message to the world, is pretend you're laying on your deathbed right now and close your eyes and visualize yourself. Your family is all around you. You're in that hospital bed and you have one last sentence that is going to go live all around the world. It's your last sentence that you're going to say to the world right now. And even if it is love one another or stop fighting or whatever, the reason I say this is because your passion and your purpose, those are easy tags. Your message is often what you're afraid to say to the world that you really believe. Your message, the message inside you, can be so deep and so profound that you're afraid. Imagine right now thinking to yourself, I should write a decluttering book. I should write one on decluttering and what it does for you and how I do it and why I do it and everything else. A lot of people, hey, Jerry, nice to see you on. A lot of people would think that that was stupid or, well, God, nobody's going to buy that book about decluttering. And so what happens is we're not talking about the message that is easy or trendy or everybody loves it. We're not talking about that kind of message. We're talking about the message that was the seed that was planted in you when you were born from that divine part of you. And that seed that is usually gonna be afraid to talk about it, not feel smart enough to talk about it, will start making excuses to not talk about it. And that's the point of the message within you. Once you find that message within you, and I'm gonna give you the story of mine. Um, Once you find that message, you'll find that it's strung out through your life, but you're afraid to actually name it. So I'm gonna say this for me. My mom, my biological father, I have a dad that is a great guy, and I had a biological father who was not very great, and he was very violent. And what ended up happening was that back then, women didn't have the Domestic Violence Act that they have now. And so there was a lot of unnecessary violence in my house. And I was so young, I just watched it and I couldn't do anything about it. And I realized that my mom had no rights. She couldn't even have a checking account unless her husband said so. So there was nothing that would set her free. But I knew if she had her own money and her own place and her own this and her own everything, that she would be able to stand up. And a lot of women were trapped because they had kids and they couldn't leave because they couldn't make a living wage. And there was a lot of discrimination about jobs and things. And so what ended up happening is my mom finally figured out how to leave. And the turmoil of the scars in my mind of seeing, like I couldn't unsee what I saw. And so then suddenly I really was all about making sure that I had my own. Because one day after my mother was not doing well, and I came home from school. She was just flopped on the kitchen table crying her eyes out, and I was like, "Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And she hugged me so tight, and she put me on the counter, and she said these words to me. I was 6 years old. She said, "Don't ever let yourself be stuck in a situation you can't get out of. Don't ever let yourself be stuck." And when she said it, those words echoed in my mind, and I realized she was stuck. She was stuck in a position because she couldn't do anything about it. So later, after the years went by, I spent a little time as a police officer. And I remember thinking to myself after, a few incidences that why I became a police officer was that I was trying to right a wrong that happened in my family. And I was trying to arrest every abuser, every this, just everything, constantly moving through that. I was trying to solve the trauma, the turmoil inside me. So then what happened was I wasn't making enough money as a police officer, and as much fun as a police officer job is not, I left because I had a degree in accounting and I could make more of a difference by helping, you know, do accounting. Anyway, accounting jobs paid well back then. So I did that. But then what happened was as I started going deeper and deeper and deeper, I realized that if I could solve the fundamental problem of women not having their own ownership of income, ownership of a house, any power that they could say, "No, I don't want to be in this abusive situation," where they could hold their own, that was my message. How could I get these women that are hurting to find a way out of a bad situation? Because it's tough being in those kinds of situations. And a woman who can hold her own thinks differently, she acts differently. So, my message to the world was first, I was afraid to tell everybody what happened to me. I was like, "Oh my gosh," and nobody wants to hear you. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody likes that, blah, blah, blah. That's the inner critic. And for years, it stopped me from getting to the actual message that was already inside of me, waiting to be said, waiting to be brought out. Well, right now with AI and your message, it is the best time to monetize. The structure is there. You'll learn the structure. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. But getting to the point where your message to the world is there and doing it live, like getting on here and screwing it up over and over and over until you get better at speaking about it. That level of confidence happens after you talk about it over and over and over again. Now, what I didn't do, which I don't want you to do, your inner message is sacred. It doesn't need you to go over to your girlfriend and go, listen, I have an idea for a business. What do you think? Or listen, I have an idea. What do you think? You don't want to know what they think. You want to know what you think. If your inner genius, your message is going to be brought out and monetized in the world, the person you need to talk to is you. You need to be quiet with it. So, for instance, in my case, when I realized I was trying to solve a problem the wrong way, the best way I could. At first, I, helped my mom run away, and then I became a police officer to help other women, and then I became, business development. Everybody should have a business. I wrote 48 books. I started all these companies because I wanted to show women that they could have their own and have that type of ownership and have their wealth and be free that way and make options and choices that they just didn't have. And so what happened was when I got to the point where I sat with my message, the first thing that came out was grief, because sometimes in your message, it has a lot to do with something that you experienced in your life. Somebody experienced being very cluttered and then thought, oh, this is making me depressed, sad, the other. And they said, okay, well, we're going to clean up and declutter. And they found that their mental wellness got better. And in Atomic Habits that get up and make your bed every morning, let's just start with one thing to be disciplined about. Can you just get up and make your bed every morning? Let's just get up and do that. And then we can make another habit, 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 habit. But if you said those in real life to yourself, get up and make your bed every morning as a type of powerful book, nobody would have thought that. That's why you have to trust yourself. What's the message coming through you? The message is where your wealth is. The message right now, you have AI that can help you build and do and sculpt and think and create. It's all there, but it can't tell you what your humanness is. It can't tell you where your message is. And so instead of looking for a niche, like, oh, this is a good niche, let's just jump in right there. We're moving into the era of humanness in those soft skills. And the soft skills are valuable in being able to create life or deal with life at the speed we're going to be dealing with it. So, I want to just say I'm old enough to remember when the internet wasn't here. Mm. And I'm old enough to remember when the internet started. And the internet was supposed to save us time. Well, they lied to us. We now work faster, more, because we can get more done in a day. Well, then now we have the speed of AI, and the speed of AI is like, it's like 10x, it's 1,000x faster. So I've written 48 books, but my first 45 I hand wrote, and those or computer wrote. I didn't handwrite. I was on the computer writing books by hand. Now with AI, they can help me sculpt the book and edit the book in minutes. I used to have to give my book to an editor and give them at least 30 days to edit my book before it would come back and changes and back and forth and blah, blah, blah. And the fastest I could get a book done was probably 3 or 4 months from start to finish because there's layers that it had to go through. I put my last book that I just wrote into AI and it had it maybe in 3.5 minutes, completely edited. And so there is so much we can do with the structure part and AI helping us build structure, it's not the structure that I pay attention to anymore. It's how do you protect your intellectual property? What is your zone of genius inside you telling you your message is? And underneath your zone of genius, there's more than one message. There's like more than one message comes out of that zone of genius. And the message is so much easier than I'm going to write a book about golf because I'm really passionate about golf and I'm really purposeful about golf. I think everybody should play golf. And it's such a wonderful sport that maybe that's there. But if you go a little deeper about what's the message inside golf that you enjoy, and maybe it is the attention to accuracy. Maybe it is the entire process that you have to become totally aware of yourself, your body, the swing, or everything else. And maybe the message underneath that is just like me using being a police officer to change the violence against women or how women can have their own. But there's layers underneath there. When I was a little kid, I saw how my mom was stuck, but I was stuck too. I couldn't do anything. I was powerless. And how did I feel being powerless and not having choices when you're a little kid? So now the second layer is well, I'm not powerless. I'm very powerful. I'm now a police officer and I can actually do something to interact with a dude. Don't do that anymore. I can arrest somebody and take them to jail if they're domestically violent. I stepped up in the power of that. There's me stepping up my experience of how do I solve this problem? So then I look, I don't know how to solve the problem. Here, well, okay, here's the first way I'm going to solve the problem. I'm going to do this so I can arrest that. And your message is still driving you through your life. And so then the next thing you take is you're like, okay, I'm going to teach self defense classes for every woman so they know how to protect themselves. Now I'm an ex cop, so I'll show you how to shoot a gun. Every woman needs to know how to shoot a gun. Layers and layers and layers of me not paying attention to the depth of my message. And you get to the point where you're looking at, well, for women to have choices, well, they need to know how to protect themselves. They need to know how to get over their abuse that happened to them. So maybe you're a therapist and you're starting to try to solve the message. But then one day you realize, okay, how can I solve it for them? What's the one thing that's going to help them most? Well, I think that I need to teach them about how I build wealth. I don't build market wealth. I hate market wealth because it's permission based and it's access based. And permission based or access based, meaning you have to go ask somebody else to get access to your money once they have it, means there's dues and penalties and taxes. How can I build wealth structures that are mine, that keep me safe, that are sovereign wealth structures? And I don't mean sovereign wealth like a nation's sovereign wealth. I mean your personal sovereign wealth that I've been talking about for decades. So my job now is I am the freer of women. That's my task. And how I do that comes out this way in several ways. When you spend time with your message inside, you'll realize that it goes far back. Like I have a friend who teaches a communication, and I was like, well, perhaps she was misunderstood in, I don't know whether it was at home, elementary, or maybe she was made fun of being a speaking in school or a debate class, whatever it is. I don't know what the structure is, but I do know that she has been a spokesperson for a automobile company doing commercials and things like that. She's gotten so good at speaking. She knows how to make money at it in a bajillion different ways. But here's what they teach online because it's a niche. The niche online is how to become a paid speaker, not how to become a good communicator. And wherever you go, whatever you do, you get top dollar. They're like, here's a paid speaker. She knows how to get you top dollar speaking, top dollar communication skills. And those are the things that are going to happen as we go from this AI into this humanness thing. AI is going to do what AI does. Now, I know there are going to be a lot of job transfers and losses, but I also know there's going to be a lot of jobs that are enhanced by AI that make your abilities and this AI work together. I think everyone should have a second income. And I don't think that second income should be a side hustle or uh, sell lotions and potions, or I don't think it should be hustle and grind. I don't think those things are good for you. I do think that if you have the structure and the message, everything can sell itself just by you being present with it. And the humanness you bring, even when the humanness is inaccuracy, that's going to start being people who can trust you because of the not the inaccurate data, but maybe you stumble, or perhaps when you're speaking you say a lot, and you have to practice to get better at it. Wherever you're beginning, just keep that Zen mind, beginner's mind, so that no matter how good you get, you're always Zen mind, beginner's mind, and that you're going to improve over time. Even Yo-Yo Ma still practices every single day of his life because I don't know, probably the joy of playing. But what happens is, what is your message? What is it that you're going to do? What is it that you've been doing without you paying attention to it? What is it, the value of you that is hiding in plain sight? The value of you that you use every day, all the time, that you think is so average, and you think you're average, and everything about what you do is average because you grew up, people were saying, no, you're just an average person. You're an average student with an average day and an average life with an average, thing. I'm going to test you to say in you is extraordinary. Extra hyphen ordinary. And I talk about that because that is extraordinary. That extraordinary point that you have, that you're so good at, you use all the time, every day. It's literally unconscious. And it is the message, the seed that was planted in you at birth, that God said, here's your little message and gift, and here it is. Whatever the universe of the divine put in you, that you think is not necessarily great, because that inner critic, remember we talked, here's the inner critic. And under the inner critic is the inner winner. And under the inner winner is the inner genius. And you have to go from here to here to here by deepening it, deepening your message until you find that zone of genius, that inner genius that is you. And that inner genius has a lot of self love. And this inner critic, the more that you go from the inner critic to the inner genius, going by the inner critic, inner winner, inner genius, when you go those three levels, this is where self love is. And there's so much creativity and genius in taking that to the next level. But you're going to have to stop that inner critic. And the way you realize that you can stop the inner critic, for me, it happened when I realized I also had an inner winner. And so I started to trust that one step more. If you've read my book, Going from the Six-Figure Coach to the Seven-Figure Mentor, I talk about all of that in there. And if you go to my later today, when you go to my Substack, you can see some of the books will be up there that you can order on Amazon, or if you have a Kindle Unlimited, it's free. You can just download the books. I make everything is like it's $1 or something. There's not a lot of expensive everything. I just try to get the message out that you have a message that is really there and it can make you a fortune. And the business thing is changing. The business thing, people are going to start being and needing human connection in a way that helps them feel grounded. Right now, most people feel chaotic. A lot of people are going, something isn't right. Things don't look normal. They're changing at a rapid pace, and I'm nervous and I feel anxious and I don't know what to do, or I don't know where to go, or I don't know any kind of how to think. And the thing is, thinking is changing. And if you want to see how thinking is changing, study prompting for a bit. When you go to AI, you can't be vague. You have to be so specific. And prompting is a form of thinking that helps the AI say, okay, this is what you want me to do and make. Okay, I can complete the task now. And what happens when you practice prompting is that it helps you practice communicating differently and thinking in a way that is going to help you be kind of ambidextrous. Here's human thinking and here's AI thinking or prompting. And when you look at prompting, it helps you talk in a very organized way. And when you look at human talking, it helps you learn to talk in a very connected way. How can I get to the point where I'm connecting human and adapting to this new technology that we're using? And then taking your message to this technology with that prompt and saying, how do I make money with this? Show me what I need to do. That's the first thing. And the AI can build the structure for you in minutes, minutes. And if you get to the point where you're looking at the structure of it, make sure you have the LLC. Make sure you write a book first. Get it out there. That the AI can help you write the book. But you want to get your intellectual property completely trackable and protected. And having that book does that first. Then once you have that protected, and then you can look at this is how I'm going to start. And you can even ask AI, what distribution channels should I use with my message? Everything about the structure of it is on AI. It can help you do plan B. It'll help you build your distribution center and your message. And the key thing is your message is everything, it's everywhere. It's all up inside you. You do it every day without realizing it. It is the deepest part of you working the best way it can to make a difference in the world. And I believe that everyone, everyone has to have a second way to make income. And it is much easier to have your message and your setup and your business running for you and you just managing this with AI than it is to struggle trying to figure out where your purpose is or where your niche is or what's selling right now or how to build a funnel and how to do this and how to do that. Those are just skill sets. And AI can do all of those skill sets for you right now. Good set of Claude and you're good to go. But the thing is, the tsunami of people is coming. That you're still at the beta curve where people still believe that in a year AI is they're going to still be employed. They're still going to be able to get a payday, that their employer isn't going to replace them with AI. There's still people who think that. And that's the thing, that's the wave that you want to be prepared for, that you want to share with. That's the wave you want to take advantage of, and it's coming. And so I know back in the internet days, not the AI days, that there was a fact that there was, I think it was 3% of all the people on the internet, 3% of them were already looking for you and couldn't find you. And over the years, I have found that to be true. It's kind of that's where that, outside of the movie, when they used to say, if you build it, they will come. Well, it's because everybody was the tsunami of people were still coming to the internet, and they hadn't used the internet or integrated the internet or learned the internet. And that's kind of where we are today. There's this swatch of people who are like, oh, AI. And so the internet kept advancing and growing and becoming and becoming and becoming, and people were learning about it, and they wanted courses and classes. And how do I use Word? How do I use, PowerPoint or any of the what were they, Windows Suite, the Windows. They were suite, they were software back then, but there were classes on how to do that, and people were trying to elevate their abilities at work by knowing how to use spreadsheets and things. And so that's kind of where we are right now. We're at the very kind of tail of the end, but there's this tsunami of billions of people who are going to come this way, and they're going to want to know how to do something. So out of those billions, let's say millions want to know your topic or subject. Here's what I know. I know they tell you know your client. So here's what I know about I'm going to talk about part of my client. My client are learners and achievers, and they're constant learners and they're constant achievers. That's my client. I deal with learners and achievers. And the reason I write books is because the learners and achievers read books. Full stop. That's what they do. So I had to learn how to write a book. I'd never done it. I couldn't even spell. I still don't spell well. If spell check wasn't there, I don't know what I would do. So the thing is, I had to learn the process of writing the book. And the first book took me 2 years. And then now my last book took me 2 weeks. So there's the systems are improving to get that out. But I had to start to learn what was my message. How do I want to get it out? I got to learn to write a book. I got to learn how to build the structure. And now the structure can be built for me. And my point in saying this is there's always a bit of a learning curve that you go through. And what readers do is, and learners and achievers do this all the time, they are buying books in droves. They read at least a book a week. Now they love books in the car, so they buy 2 weeks. This is the one I'm going to read, and this is the one I'm going to listen to. They listen to podcasts. So I'm now learning how to do a podcast so that they learn to do the podcast. You have to go where your audience is, and you have to be with where your audience is. So I write books because the person who goes to the Barnes and Nobles and the Borders bookstores, they don't come out with one book. They're like, I want to learn about economics. So they have 3 or 4 titles they come out with. I'm going to read these 4 books on economics. So if my book on economics isn't in that slot, they won't buy it. They don't know about me. So what I do is I say, okay, it's like if you go into that store and you know the habit, the audiobook is the same thing. I want to listen to this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. You have to put yourself where your client is going to shop. You have to go ahead and figure out where that is. And I will tell you, the number one mistake people make when they write books is that they write a book to the masses, and the masses don't read. There is a specific structure of a person who reads. So if you're writing a nonfiction book and the topic is about something that you do, like habits, you know that the nonfiction learner or achiever always wants to achieve a new habit. They want to achieve a new skill set. They want to get that level up one game. They want to do those things. And that's the people you write to. And or the people in the middle who like to binge watch Netflix and don't read, they love to buy books for their kids. I don't know why that is. It goes from achievers and readers to the masses not reading to let's buy books for our kids because we want our kids to be educated. So suddenly there's all these game books and every learning books and this. But there's this big chunk of people right in the middle who don't read books. And so many of the people who start out and they're like, my book didn't go anywhere, mine failed, blah, blah, blah. It's because of the audience you're writing to. If you're writing to the audience that doesn't read, you're not going to get that. Your message isn't going to get out there. So once you know your message, you go from your inner critic, you go to your inner winner, then you go to your zone of genius, your inner genius that's there. You listen to it. You have to listen to it deeply. You have to see where you've been trying to solve the problem your whole life by all the actions that you did. Stay with yourself. Write your message on a piece of paper. Put that message into AI. Tell it to say, how do I make this a product? How do I do this? And it'll do it for you. And when it does it for you, then construct it just the way it said you should do. And then find out who your audience is and really stop to know them. And don't find them as like my audience is the masses. No, it isn't. You have to go and find your client. So, for example, those women who love to knit, there's, women who love to knit. They love to level up. How do they level up? They love patterns. So a book on patterns that they're knitting, those patterns are stitches or something that you use or learn. That particular book is know your client, know them. They want patterns that are a certain type, a certain way. Or maybe it's like quilting. Everybody has a zone of genius. And wherever your zone of genius is, there's a multi-million dollar area where you can claim and work and do and set yourself free in. A little bit over the hour today, but I want to say everyone needs to have a second way of making income. It's income. And right now, there is a very strong opportunity to get a body of work done. And what do I mean by that? I wrote 4 books in the last year, 4 of them. And they're all about empowering women's confidence, money, wealth, everything else, because I know, I know that what's coming in this way also with women is the largest wealth transfer that is happening. And the largest portion of that wealth transfer is going to women for the first time in history. There's $124 trillion. You have AI, you can go look this up yourself. 124 trillion around the world is a global number that women are going to inherit. And it's business inheritance, house inheritance, wealth inheritance, money inheritance. It's so big, this huge portion of the money. It's so big. And if I know it, Fidelity, Vanguard, Citi, JP Morgan, everyone else knows this money is coming. And if you look at the ads right now, women are being targeted. And I mean targeted. They're, become a financial planner, get your money invested, blah, blah, blah. It's locking up their money. And everyone knows that this transfer is happening, but most women don't. And 71% of all women are invested in the market. There's my data. And right now, the market is doing great. It is skyrocketing, but it's built on really the back of the Magnificent Seven. And when the crash happens, that's going to be a lot of financial loss. But the guy on the back end or the girl on the back end that sold you whatever it was that they sold you, whether it was a mutual fund, an IRA, a 401k, whatever it is, they're still getting paid. They don't take a money loss. Only you do. And so what I want to do is come in and go, look, here's other things, other ways, other places, other types. Everybody do that. So my message for that is you want ownership and control. You don't want, permission, access, and to have, penalties and dues if you need access. And that message for me, it's made me wealthy and stabilized that. And now I'm going to share with you this is how wealth is changing. And this is the adaptability piece. Everything I talked about, you can go on AI and just type it in and look at it. But I've given you today the structure that you absolutely have to have in place first in order to find the hidden value in you that is hidden in place in plain sight, and then turn it into your income machine. And we talked about all the examples, including mine, including, you know, New York Times bestselling authors and the way they have done it. And the thing is, stop trying to find the niche. Go find your message that's within you. And when you find the message within you, do that same process. You have to get past the inner critic. Once you get past the inner critic and you go to your inner winner, then what'll happen is the inner critic starts to die. And then when you go even deeper and you find your inner genius, because that's their journey, that inner genius wakes up a zone of genius that's in you that is enormous, and it enhances your quality of life so much that it helps you explore, giving you access to all of the things that are in you, where you realize, oh, this is my message. And I've been trying to, I experienced it here. I tried to solve it here. Then I tried to solve it here. And now I want to build the structure where it is something that I talk to everybody about so that they can join you, find you, or do business with you. And that's kind of the process. Use AI once you find your message. Say, this is my message to the world. How do I package it? How do I build a business from it? Where's my audience? Ask the questions, know your audience. And when you take a look at your audience, know this: your audience can't be, it could be the masses, but that would be a time saving gadget that you made or an invention that you made. But if you're looking at doing it through the intelligence, information, book writing, programs, or courses, you have to know that you either have to have yours here where the people who read are. Don't go without starting with people who read or want to learn, because the miracle thing about writing a book is that people are already saying, I need this the second they pick up the book. I need to know more about this. It's advertising for you. They're already admitting that they want to learn more about something. So it's easier to sell somebody who already can say, I need to learn more about this, a course in a program, who's a learner and achiever, than it is somebody who's like, well, I could go online and watch a YouTube video or something, but my program is going to be on, and I really want to watch my program and then binge watch after that because they like video. That's their gig. And if you want to reach the masses, go to YouTube because they like video. And the learners and achievers, they like to read. They like to listen to audios and podcasts. So you got to be where your audience is. And I've given you those three things. This is how I have built mine up, and this is how I do it in that way. And I'm telling you, your value is hidden in plain sight. You can turn it into income. I've given you the structure to do it. And I've even gotten, here's how you do it. And this is, to me, the most important thing you can have. And you want to set it up now. You want to do it now before the wave hits. You want to have enough content out there so when the wave starts, like, I need to find answers, they find you because you've already set it up. All right, that is my sharing today for, wealth rules. But here's what I can tell you about the wealth rule. When you have structures in place, not systems, structures in place, you become wealthier because you have control of it. And the money comes from whatever cash flow you make directly into your account. And there's no intermediary. There's no intermediary. You begin to steward your wealth. And that's how you get to have that second income and take the value of you and bring it out into the world. I hope this helped you. I hope you had fun, and I will see you on Thursday. Thursday at 10 a.m., the podcast goes back on, and hopefully my partner, who has had a kind of family emergency, will be back on then, and we'll have a good conversation. Thanks for being with me. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.